bigot became America's most beloved character, and nobody saw the problem until it was too late. All in the Family put a racist on television and millions of people cheered for him. Archie Bunker said things that would get shows canceled today, but in 1971 he was a hero. The network tried to kill the show before it aired. They buried it in a death time slot hoping it would fail. One actor was fired for demanding equal pay. Another quit because the role was destroying his marriage. The star fought the creator so violently they stopped speaking for years. And the chair Archie sat in is now in the Smithsonian next to Abraham Lincoln's hat. For 9 seasons, All in the Family changed television by putting hate on screen and daring America to laugh. These are 20 facts about the show that proved controversy sells. Before we dive into video, please subscribe to our channel. Fact 1. The show was stolen from Britain. All in the Family was not an original idea. Producer Norman Lear stole it directly from a British sitcom called Till Death Us Do Part. The British show featured Alf Garnett, a working-class bigot who yelled at his family. Lear watched the show during a trip to England and immediately saw potential. He bought the American rights and adapted it completely. The British show was darker and angrier. Lear softened it slightly for American audiences but kept the controversial core. He changed the name to All in the Family and changed the characters. Alf Garnett became Archie Bunker. The setting moved from London to Queens, New York, but the basic premise remained identical. A racist father clashes with his liberal son-in-law. CBS was terrified of the concept. They delayed the premiere for over a year. The network filmed 2 different pilots with different casts before finally committing. Norman Lear fought for his vision, refusing to compromise. The British show that inspired it all was forgotten by American audiences. But without Till Death Us Do Part, there would be no Archie Bunker. Fact 2. Carroll O'Connor was nobody's first choice. Carroll O'Connor was not the first actor offered the role of Archie Bunker. He was not even the 5th choice. Norman Lear wanted Mickey Rooney initially. Rooney read the script and was offended. He called it un-American and refused. Lear approached Jack Warden, who also declined. Several other actors turned down the role, believing it would destroy their careers. Nobody wanted to play a racist on television. Carroll O'Connor was a character actor who had never led a series. He was hesitant about Archie but needed the work. O'Connor took the role and transformed it completely. He played Archie as ignorant but not evil. He made the character human instead of monstrous. O'Connor's performance made audiences love Archie even when they disagreed with him. That was dangerous and brilliant. Carroll O'Connor was not the first choice, but he became the only choice. His Archie Bunker defined American television. Fact 3. Jean Stapleton hated being Edith. Jean Stapleton played Edith Bunker, the sweet, submissive wife everyone loved. Edith was kind and naive and loyal. Audiences adored her. Jean Stapleton hated the role. Stapleton was a trained stage actress with serious credentials. She had performed Shakespeare. She wanted complex, dramatic roles. Edith Bunker was neither complex nor dramatic. Stapleton felt the character was demeaning to women. Edith was portrayed as stupid and helpless. Stapleton fought with Norman Lear constantly over the characterization. She wanted Edith to have more depth and intelligence. Lear insisted Edith needed to be simple to contrast with Archie. Stapleton gave the performance but resented it. She stayed with the show for 8 seasons, then demanded to leave. Her final episode aired in 1980. Edith died off screen from a stroke. Stapleton refused to return for the spin-off Archie Bunker's place. She wanted nothing more to do with Edith. Fact 4. Rob Reiner and Sally Struthers fought constantly. Rob Reiner played Mike Stivic, the liberal son-in-law. Sally Struthers played Gloria Bunker, the daughter. On screen they were a loving couple. Off screen they could not stand each other. Reiner thought Struthers was too emotional and unprofessional. Struthers thought Reiner was arrogant and controlling. They argued between takes constantly. The fights became so bad that producers had to mediate. Some episodes required filming their scenes separately. The tension actually helped their performances. Mike and Gloria had a realistic marriage with real conflict. The actors brought genuine frustration to their arguments. When Reiner left the show after season 8, Struthers was relieved. She continued for one more season then quit. Decades later, both admitted the conflict was partly creative and partly personal. Fact 5. CBS almost canceled after 3 episodes. All in the Family premiered January 12, 1971 to terrible ratings. The first episode finished 54th out of 70 shows that week. CBS executives panicked immediately. They wanted to cancel the show after 3 episodes. Norman Lear begged for more time. He argued the show was too different for audiences to understand immediately. CBS reluctantly agreed to keep it on the air. Then something unexpected happened. Word of mouth spread. Viewers started talking about the show. Ratings climbed slowly. By the end of season 1, All in the Family was a hit. By season 2, it was the #1 show in America. It stayed #1 for 5 consecutive years. CBS executives who wanted to cancel it took credit for its success. Norman Lear never forgot how close the network came to destroying his creation. The show that almost died after 3 episodes became the most important sitcom in television history. Fact 6. Archie's chair is in the Smithsonian. Archie Bunker's living room chair became iconic. The worn, ugly chair where Archie sat and yelled at the television. After the show ended, the chair was donated to the Smithsonian Institution. It sits in the National Museum of American History next to artifacts from presidents. Archie's chair represents a specific moment in American culture. The 1970s were a time of social change and conflict. Archie represented Americans who resisted that change. The chair symbolizes that resistance. Tourists visit the Smithsonian specifically to see Archie's chair. It has become more famous than many actual historical artifacts. A piece of television furniture sits in the nation's most important museum. That is the cultural power All in the Family achieved. Fact 7. The show tackled every controversial topic All in the Family addressed subjects no sitcom had touched before: racism, rape, homosexuality, abortion, menopause, breast cancer, war, religion. Every episode pushed boundaries. CBS censors fought Norman Lear constantly. They demanded script changes. Lear refused almost every time. One episode featured Edith nearly being raped. Another dealt with Mike and Gloria considering abortion. Another had Archie discovering his friend was gay. These topics were revolutionary for 1970s television. Sponsors threatened to pull advertising. Conservative groups organized boycotts. Norman Lear did not care. He believed television had a responsibility to reflect real life. Real families dealt with these issues. Why should television pretend they did not exist? The controversy generated massive publicity. People watched to see what All in the Family would do next. The show proved that controversy could drive ratings and create cultural conversation. Fact 8. Carol O'Connor and Norman Lear stopped speaking. Carol O'Connor and Norman Lear had a massive falling out during season 8. The conflict was about creative control and money. O'Connor wanted more say in storylines. Lear refused to share power. O'Connor also demanded a larger percentage of syndication profits. Lear said no. The arguments escalated into screaming matches. O'Connor and Lear stopped speaking to each other entirely. They communicated through intermediaries. O'Connor would send notes through producers. Lear would respond the same way. This went on for over a year. The show continued, but the working environment was toxic. When All in the Family ended, O'Connor and Lear did not speak for years. They eventually reconciled decades later, but the damage was permanent. The two men who created Archie Bunker together could not stand each other. Fact 9. The theme song was sung by the cast. The All in the Family theme song Those Were the Days was sung by Carol O'Connor and Gene Stapleton. Archie and Edith sang it together sitting at the piano. The song was nostalgic and melancholy. It talked about the past being better than the present. The theme perfectly captured Archie's worldview. Everything was better before. The song became iconic. People could sing it from memory. Carol O'Connor hated recording it. He was not a singer and felt embarrassed. Gene Stapleton was a trained singer and handled it easily. O'Connor struggled with the pitch and timing. Multiple takes were required. The version used in the show was pieced together from different recordings. O'Connor's off-key delivery actually added charm. It made Archie more real and relatable. The theme song became one of the most recognizable in television history. Fact 10. Rob Reiner left because of his marriage. Rob Reiner played Mike Stivic for 8 seasons then quit. His reason was personal. The role was destroying his marriage. Reiner was married to director Penny Marshall. The grueling production schedule meant he was never home. Reiner worked 14-hour days. He filmed episodes and then stayed for table reads and script meetings. Marshall rarely saw him. Their marriage was falling apart. Reiner decided to leave All in the Family to save his relationship. It did not work. Reiner and Marshall divorced anyway in 1981. Reiner later admitted leaving the show was a mistake. He gave up steady work to save a marriage that was already dead. After leaving All in the Family, Reiner became a film director. He directed This Is Spinal Tap and The Princess Bride and When Harry Met Sally. His directing career became more successful than his acting ever was, but he always wondered what would have happened if he stayed. Fact 11. Sally Struthers became an activism celebrity. Sally Struthers played Gloria for 9 seasons. After the show ended, she became famous for something completely different. Struthers became a spokesperson for childhood hunger charities. She appeared in commercials asking for donations to feed starving children. The commercials ran constantly throughout the 1980s. Struthers became more famous for the charity work than for All in the Family. Some people mocked her for it. Comedians parodied the commercials. Struthers did not care. She believed in the cause. She traveled to impoverished countries. She met the children her work helped. Struthers raised millions of dollars over decades. She used her fame from Gloria to make a real difference. Later, she admitted the activism was partly about escaping being typecast. If people knew her as a humanitarian, they might forget Gloria. It worked partially. Sally Struthers is remembered now for both the sitcom and the charity work. Fact 12. The show was filmed in front of live audiences. All in the Family was filmed before live studio audiences. This was unusual for a show dealing with controversial topics. The audience watched rape scenes and racism and abortion debates. Their reactions were captured and used in the broadcast. This gave the show authentic energy. When jokes landed, the laughter was real. When dramatic moments happened, the silence was real. Norman Lear insisted on live audiences. He believed it kept the performances honest. Actors could not phone it in with people watching. The audience forced everyone to bring their best. Some episodes were so controversial that audience members walked out. Lear kept those episodes. If something made people uncomfortable enough to leave, it meant the show was doing its job. The live audience made All in the Family feel immediate and dangerous. You never knew what would happen next. Fact 13. The show created 5 successful spin-offs. All in the Family spawned 5 spin-off shows. Maude featuring B. Arthur premiered in 1972. The Jeffersons featuring Sherman Hemsley premiered in 1975. Good Times premiered in 1974. Archie Bunker's Place continued Archie's story from 1979 to 1983. Gloria followed Sally Struthers from 1982 to 1983. All 5 shows were successful to varying degrees. The Jeffersons ran 11 seasons. Maude ran 6 seasons. Good Times ran 6 seasons. The spin-offs created an entire universe of connected shows. Characters crossed over constantly. The Bunkers would visit the Jeffersons. Maude would visit the Bunkers. It was the first shared television universe. Norman Lear controlled all of it. At one point, he had 7 shows on the air simultaneously. All in the Family was not just a hit show. It was a franchise that dominated television for over a decade. Fact 14. Sammy Davis Jr. kissed Archie Bunker. One of the most famous episodes featured Sammy Davis Jr. as himself. Archie meets Sammy and they have an awkward conversation about race. At the end, Sammy kisses Archie on the cheek. The image of a black man kissing a white man on television in 1972 was shocking. CBS executives were terrified. They wanted to cut the kiss. Norman Lear refused. Sammy Davis Jr. thought it was hilarious and insisted it stay. The episode aired with the kiss intact. Conservative groups were outraged. They called it promoting homosexuality and race mixing. The controversy made the episode the highest rated of the season. Over 50 million people watched. The kiss became iconic. It represented everything All in the Family was trying to do. Take the things that made people uncomfortable and put them on screen. The Sammy Davis Jr. episode is still studied in television history classes. Fact 15. Carroll O'Connor won 4 Emmy Awards. Carroll O'Connor won 4 Emmy Awards for playing Archie Bunker. He was nominated 8 times total. Gene Stapleton won 3 Emmys for Edith. Rob Reiner won 2 for Mike. Sally Struthers won 2 for Gloria. All in the Family won 22 Emmys total. It was nominated over 50 times. The show dominated the awards throughout its run. It won Best Comedy Series 3 times. Norman Lear won for producing and writing. The awards validated what Lear was doing. All in the Family was not just controversial, it was excellent television. The acting was superb, the writing was sharp, the direction was precise. The Emmys proved that pushing boundaries and quality were not mutually exclusive. You could tackle difficult subjects and still make great art. Fact 16. The show made bigotry lovable. All in the Family faced criticism from an unexpected direction. Liberal critics argued the show made bigotry acceptable. Archie Bunker was racist and sexist, but he was also funny and sympathetic. Audiences loved him despite his views. Some viewers agreed with Archie's opinions. They cheered when he made racist jokes. Norman Lear intended Archie to be satire. He wanted people to laugh at Archie, not with him. But many viewers did not get the joke. They saw Archie as validation for their own prejudices. This troubled Lear. He never found a solution. The show continued portraying Archie as lovable despite his flaws. Critics argued this was dangerous, making a bigot the hero. Normalized bigotry. Lear defended his work, saying he showed Archie learning and growing. But the criticism never went away. All in the Family wanted to challenge prejudice. Instead, it might have reinforced it. Fact 17. The show ended because everyone quit. All in the Family ended in 1979 not because of ratings but because the cast quit. Rob Reiner left first after season 8. Gene Stapleton left after season 9, refusing to continue. Sally Struthers left with her. Carroll O'Connor was the only original cast member remaining. The show could not continue without the family. CBS and Norman Lear created Archie Bunker's Place as a continuation. It focused on Archie running a bar. The show lasted 4 seasons but never matched the original success. Without Edith and Mike and Gloria, it was not the same. All in the Family ended because the actors were done. They had given 9 years to these characters. They wanted to move on. The show that changed television ended not with a bang but with a slow, quiet departure. Fact 18. The bunker house still exists. The exterior shots of the bunker home were filmed at a real house in Queens, New York. The house still exists today. It is a private residence. The owners have dealt with tourists for decades. People knock on the door asking to see inside. They take photos on the front steps. The house has become a landmark. The current owners have embraced it. They know they live in a piece of television history. The house looks almost identical to how it appeared on the show. The neighborhood has changed, but the house remains. It is a physical connection to All in the Family that fans can visit. The bunker house proves the show was real in ways most television never is. Fact 19. The show launched Lear's empire. All in the Family made Norman Lear the most powerful producer in television. After its success, Lear created a production empire. Tandem Productions produced dozens of shows. Lear had complete creative control. He tackled controversial topics in every show. Maude dealt with abortion. The Jeffersons dealt with interracial marriage. Good Times dealt with poverty. Lear used television to start conversations about uncomfortable subjects. His shows dominated the 1970s. At one point, Norman Lear Productions accounted for over 20% of all television viewing. One man controlled a fifth of what America watched. That kind of power was unprecedented. All in the Family started it all. Without Archie Bunker, there would be no Norman Lear empire. Fact 20. The show is still controversial today. All in the Family cannot be remade. The language and topics are too offensive for modern audiences. Networks would never allow Archie's racial slurs to air. Advertisers would flee. Social media would demand cancellation. The show exists in a specific time when certain things were acceptable on television that no longer are. This makes All in the Family a historical document. It shows what American culture was in the 1970s. The racism and sexism were real. Archie represented millions of real people. Pretending those people did not exist would have been dishonest. Norman Lear chose honesty over comfort. The show remains controversial because the issues it tackled are not resolved. America still struggles with race and gender and class. All in the Family showed those struggles. That is why it still matters 50 years later.